Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Monday, January the 30th. Zach Ewing along with Spencer the Guru and Jim Derry. We have a Super Bowl. We have Super Bowl 57, Eagles versus Chiefs. Eagles early 2-point favorites. We'll talk about our early impressions of that line, where it might go, where the over-under might go, MVP odds, next year's Super Bowl odds out already. But first, we will recap the games from yesterday and get you through the next 30, 45 minutes and get you to the end of your workday. So, Jim, Spencer, hope you enjoyed the games yesterday. How are y'all?
How are those conspiracy theorists doing today?
Huh.
Are they doing okay? I mean, the refs, the NFL's a whole big scam. Why people keep watching? That's
Yeah, the Saints are out, so the NFL had to go after Louisiana's second favorite team, right?
there's
The,
no
the
way.
Bengals.
Exactly.
They just hate us so much. Come on, if you really
It's a
think that,
one
please
big
leave a comment
conspiracy.
and let's go back and forth about this because there is no way,
It
way
cheated, man. It
the
cheated.
NFL is rigging these games. It's not possible. It would be stupid of them. That it makes no logical sense whatsoever. I'm sorry, Spencer. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, I feel it just makes for it gives people, they feel more important if they think they can nail a conspiracy theory. But and you really think about it deeply, it's like, man, it's just no. The Chiefs won fair and square. They had some few kind of like ticky tack calls, but the Mahomes thing at the end, they shoved him late. You can't not call that. So I don't think either game was affected terribly by officiating.
There were two calls that were even like kind of even a mention, and one was the no call. I'm sorry, the no play, the extra play, or whatever you want to call it, where the referee's clearly running onto the field when they show it. That, even if you want to think that's some kind of conspiracy theory, it had no effect on the game whatsoever. It made
It was
zero
sloppy,
difference.
but it wasn't. Yeah, it was.
But it made no difference. The point is, they got a first down on the next play by a defensive holding call like Eli Apple, who sucks. And then they went 3 and out after that. Insane.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It had no effect on the game whatsoever.
If you really want to talk about this, the Chiefs were the ones who had a touchdown and an interception wiped off the board by penalty. The Bengals didn't have those things wiped off the board by penalty. I'm not trying to say it was biased one way or the other. One team, like I thought the game, it was a difficult game to officiate. I'll say that because I think there were a lot. Those teams were trying to get away with a lot. The Bengals were holding on every damn snap in the second half. They really were. They called 3 or 4 of them. They could have called it on every snap because it was the only way they could protect Burrow. So it was a hard game to officiate. I don't think it was well officiated, but it certainly was not rigged.
No, and then look, we call these people kind of less than intelligent. You know what's less than intelligent? Me going through and reading the comments on our post on Datitude on the Saints Facebook page, NOLA Saints Facebook page, for like the last 15 minutes before I came on the air. When I read the last one, I was like, why did I read this again? People are so dumb.
Chad says the Bengals need to cut Eli. I've tried to figure out for a couple years now. Like I'm not saying he can't be on a roster, but how is Eli Apple a starter in this league, much less a starter on a playoff team?
Says a lot about the
good.
Bengals defensive backfield, doesn't it?
Yeah, but probably about just the quality of depth in the defensive backfield across the NFL. Elita says, when's the Super Bowl? We got 13 days. February the 12th. Pennison, the game is about pressure on the QB. That's absolutely true. I think the Eagles will get more pressure on Mahomes. We'll talk about that. Is Mahomes going to be a little healthier to get away from it? Devin wants to know what about his Eagles?
Hey, I'd like to see that. I would have liked to have seen that game played with the third string 49ers quarterback played instead of the no string quarterback played, because they didn't have a quarterback for the last half.
And that's what's hard. And we can talk a little bit more about yesterday's games. But to me, when you look at this Super Bowl line, and it opened up as a pick 'em, and even some books in Vegas that they're very first ones to open. Circa Sports is traditionally one of the first to open. They actually had the Chiefs favored. And then all this money comes in on the Eagles and very quickly bet up to Eagles -2. The way you look at this game, to me, is the way you answer the question, are the Eagles for real? We all know they're a good team, okay, but are they a great team? Because they have not beat anybody truly good. The two wins that they hang their hat on are the Cowboys early in the year, who are playing with Cooper Rush, and the 49ers yesterday, who were playing with, for most of the game, Josh Johnson, and for part of the game, nobody. I mean, an injured Brock Purdy. So, like, okay, the Eagles are a good team, and we know they've got good offensive and defensive lines. Are they a great team? That's really the question you have to answer when you're betting on this game, I feel like.
By the way,
Right.
a little ticky out special. One little ticky tack thing. The Chiefs should be on top, and the Eagles should be on the bottom, because I think the Eagles are the home team.
I thought about looking that up, but
you just got to remember who the home team was last year.
I decided to let you correct me on air instead.
Okay.
That actually did not even cross my mind.
I know.
Yeah, Hassan. I would not block Hassan Reddick with a tight end, especially if that's Travis Kelce, because then you're taking Travis Kelce. I guarantee the Chiefs won't do that. Yeah, Eli Apple, I think, was like number 10, number 11, something like that, by the Giants. He's not as big of a bust as some guys, because he has started a number of years in the league, not every first-round pick. Talk about what's his name for the Saints, whose name escapes me right now because he never plays. Some guys are real first-round busts. But, yeah, Spencer. Peyton Turner, thank you.
Yeah.
But Spencer, we didn't mean to cut you off. Your Super Bowl take, at least we're obviously not making picks at this juncture, but what's your early take on that line?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was kind of surprised that they'd open with the Eagles as favorites, because the Chiefs are the team that's been there before, and the Eagles haven't. I mean, they have a few years back, but it was a completely different team. It was Nick Foles and Doug Peterson. This year's Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, which, I mean, they've done really well, but as y'all were saying, they haven't really played many tough teams. And I mean, with Brock Purdy, one of the announcers yesterday was like, it's like they had not just one arm tied behind their back, but both arms, as far as the 49ers, because they were just one-dimensional. And yeah, that makes sense, Uncle Big Nick, because he couldn't throw. He literally couldn't throw. I mean, he had to hand off every time. At one point, they were talking about putting Christian McCaffrey in. They should have. So that's why I'm not making my pick yet, but I'm just going to say I am surprised that the Eagles are favorites.
Jawan Jennings was a top 10 quarterback in high school, somebody pointed out. Like same class as a couple of other top guys. I'm surprised that he didn't at least – I mean, it can't be any worse than what they were doing. At least it's a threat to throw the ball.
I mean, there's look. I think, and look. I think in their defense, you never want to say giving up is a reasonable scenario, but especially when it's only a 2-touchdown game at halftime. But I gotta say, in that spot, I kind of don't blame them. I mean, it hurts that I had the 49ers tease with both the Chiefs and the Bengals, and had they covered the teaser bet, I would have won both of those bets because the Chiefs and Bengals both covered their teaser legs. So from a betting perspective, it hurt, but I understand it from a human perspective. I mean, when you're just handing it up, when you put Purdy in there and you're just handing it off to start the fourth quarter and you're down 24-7, I mean, that's give up mode. And it's like, please, we surrender, don't score anymore on us. And I get it. So, I mean, I can't be upset with them, but at the same time, it's the NFC Championship game, and I don't understand why they didn't at least try something. And I know they tried it for one play with McCaffrey, but like you said, Juwan Jennings, McCaffrey, anybody. I mean, McCaffrey can throw it at least 20 yards. So, I mean, they just didn't try anything, and I guess they weren't prepared. To me, when you go into a game like that, Zach, I think you need to have a better plan. I understand it's rare you get to a third quarterback, but to me, for a game like that, the just in case is bigger than any other game. You need to have a just in case, and they didn't. And I would have liked to have seen a third string, a fifth string quarterback, I guess in that case, on the roster. Who's the 52nd man? I guess. I mean, who would have been the last man that would have been out? I would have liked to see at least any quarterback there.
It's pretty standard operating procedure in the NFL to only have 2 active quarterbacks in any given game, but I mean, I guess it goes to show you, like, if the Saints ever get back to, none of the other teams yesterday had 3 active quarterbacks. If the Saints ever get back to a situation where they're in a game like that, that's where a guy like Taysom Hill comes in super handy, because if it is a worst case scenario, Taysom Hill has played quarterback in the NFL before, and you could put him back there and at least pose a passable threat.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Eagles defense was getting pressure anyway. That's how both those guys got hurt, is because they're getting hit as they threw. I don't know that it matters a ton. They were trying all sorts of jet sweeps with Debo and reverses and handoffs. And at that point, though, the Eagles have 8-9 guys in the box because they just don't have to
Right.
respect the downfield throw. And so none of it was working. None of it was working. Yeah, it's like Steve Young's in the parking lot saying he's ready. It was an ugly situation. I do wonder how close Garoppolo was to being ready. He was listed as doubtful in the lead up.
That's why it's like, wouldn't it hurt to put him at least on the roster and make him the third quarterback? I mean, I gotta believe that Jimmy Garoppolo, as a third string quarterback, would have been at least giving him some kind of chance, no matter where he stood. I mean, unless he was just that injured, which I doubt.
He probably
I
wonder Jimmy Garoppolo. He's like, man, it's like y'all benched me before and all this. Like he's probably like, I'll just chill.
It's an NFC chance. Now, if there was a chance he could injure himself further going into free agency, then yeah, I think I could see that. But
yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, I don't think that kind of guy.
He wasn't healthy. He wasn't healthy. Like he wasn't gonna want to jeopardize. Yeah, he said, yeah, UBN said he was laughing on the sidelines. He didn't want any part of that. You know, he probably wouldn't have been able to contribute. I mean, he was injured, so I can't blame the man. If he's not 100%, you can't expect him to go out there all beat up.
Nobody's 100% this time of year. It's an NFC Championship game.
No, but I will say this, and all I was doing is wondering how close he was. But if it was a thing where the doctors say, look, it's a broken foot, if he goes back out there, he could aggravate the injury. He's going into free agency. Like I understand that. And they were high flying with Purdy anyway. Chances are they weren't going to play Garoppolo. I understand that point of it. The other thing, speaking of injuries, that I'll say as we talk about, how much do you believe in the Eagles? On the other side of it, and this is where I think you may see some line movement one way or the other over the next fortnight. The Chiefs are banged up. I mean, bad. It's not just Mahomes. Kelsey's got a bad back. Pacheco was limping around. Their top 3 wide receivers at one point were out last night. Juju, Hardman, and Tony were all out last night. Nick Bolton was limping around, like their top linebacker. They got to get healthy. Willie Snead went out, their top cornerback. Like this kind of stuff is not what you want.
Yeah.
He
had the concussion protocols.
Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. So you'd think maybe in 2 weeks he can come back. Some of those guys, Mahomes and Kelsey, are going to play. But the other question is, how healthy is Kansas City?
Travis Kelce's back's been hurting him since 2018. I mean, his back's always been hurting him. I mean, it always hurts. They'll be fine. Of course, yeah, injuries suck, but everybody's got injuries this time of year. I mean, Hurts still isn't 100%. I mean, you could see that yesterday. I talked about this with Larry Holder, and he's like, well, they didn't need to do it. Well, the first half was tight. I mean, even until the boneheaded Josh Johnson play gets concussion and fumbles, and then it turns into 21-7. I mean, it's 14-7 until what, 30 seconds left in the first half? So, I mean, Jalen Hurts didn't run around like Jalen Hurts normally runs around. And again, I get that he didn't have to in the second half, but he could have several times in the first half and didn't. And I think that's something that you're going to see. I don't think he's going to be any different with 2 weeks rest, because to me, those shoulder injuries tend to last 10 to 12 weeks. I mean, they're able to get him back out on the field, kind of like they're able to get Mahomes back out of the field, but he's not going to be running around. I was actually surprised they did that little 4th and 1 play and 4th and goal play twice yesterday. So I was a little surprised they did that, but hey, when you believe in your O-line, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like if you, and Larry Holder mentioned this on your podcast this morning, Jim, like if you're just talking the coach and the quarterback, you're going to give the advantage to Kansas City. And those are obviously 2 crucially important points. But if you're talking everything else, those Eagles lines, the Eagles wide receivers, the Eagles backfield, pretty much their whole defense, like the advantage in depth, and when you go down to who's the 10th best guy and 20th best guy on the roster, that's where the Eagles have the advantage in this game.
Yeah, I'd say so. I just feel like the top heaviness of the Chiefs with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes is just when the cream rises to the top a lot of times in these big moments. But it's going to be interesting. It's definitely not one that it's not obvious. I mean, as we see, the line jumped a lot already, opened at even money, then went to 1 and the -2, and it could go back some to Kansas City soon if it comes out that they're a little healthier, because they did lose a lot of receivers yesterday. It was really impressive that Mahomes did what he was able to do, being that Juju went out, Kadarius Toney went out. I mean, Cole Hardman was back, but not 100%. Kelsey banged up, but it's hard to bet against Mahomes and Andy Reid. Those are two of the all-time greats.
Question is, would it be like the Chiefs-Bucks Super Bowl a couple years ago, where Mahomes really didn't have much of a chance because his offensive line was getting beat up? And I don't know. I think we could see something like that.
I will say this: I tend to like also teams on a mission. And the Chiefs have been on a mission from week 1. I mean, people were talking about before the season. If you go rewind to back before the season, there were people who thought, and I questioned it a little bit, because the Chiefs had such a brutal early part of the schedule. I wasn't worried about them, and they came through unfazed. They've been on a mission since week 1, since losing to Cincinnati last year in the AFC Championship game. I think they have something to prove. They know that this team is not going to be together. They've already lost some of their guys, and they know that keeping a team together for a long period of time is not easy. And so even though they're the Chiefs and they have Patrick Mahomes, how much longer is Kelsey going to play? How much longer are some of these other guys going to play? I think they realize that. And how much longer is Andy Reid going to coach? He's in his mid-60s now. So I don't know. I think they're on a mission. And with Spencer, even if I just don't know how you bet against Mahomes here. And I haven't done my analysis yet. I doubt that I'm going to feel differently when I go through it, but we're going to find every little nuance and little stat we can find, whether it supports my position or not. And maybe I'll change my mind, but I doubt it. I can't see betting against Mahomes getting points in the Super Bowl. That seems kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, we're not making picks just yet, but I will say this: if that's sort of your, I don't want to say narrative, but if that's your train of thought in this game, it's pretty tempting to just bet on the MVP if you think the Chiefs are going to win, because you're getting two more dimes on that. What's the money line? Even money, or it's plus 110, and you're getting plus 130.
Yeah.
I guess Kelsey could win it.
Yeah, it's
Chris
possible.
Jones could win it.
I think a lot of other people could win it, actually. You go ahead, Spence. You're the individual kind of guy. I don't think that the value is there. I think if you want to put a couple bucks on someone else other than the quarterbacks, I just think if you're going to bet on either one of those quarterbacks, you might as well just bet on the team in that instance.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, as far as the skill players, because we saw last year, a lot of times a skill player can step up. Cooper Kupp won it. So I'm thinking as far as value here, Kelsey, I mean, he'd be the obvious one for the Chiefs. But for those that like the Eagles, I feel like Devontae Smith's a really good value. I know A.J. Brown has had a slightly better season, but Devontae Smith was right there with him. So to me, 1,200, 2,500. To me, there's much more value.
Be double. No.
Yeah, there's a lot of value to me with Devontae Smith. When I went through the slide before the show, that's the one that really popped out at me. I was like, man, I might put a buck or two on Devontae Smith, just because if the Eagles do win, I think he's capable of putting up a monster game. I mean, he's a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, that dude can ball.
I think Reddick and Jones are both decent values for a few bucks.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed from that Aaron Donald thing last year that I can't bring myself to bet on a defensive player, because they have to have
$5.
They have to have like a game-winning strip sack to even have a chance. Like, it has to be something incredible, or they're just going to give it to the offensive player. Even if, I mean, Aaron Donald was the MVP of that game last year without question.
You won $100,000. You can't put $5 on Chris Jones.
I can, but why wouldn't I put $5 on something else? Early report from
save
Caesars,
it for those exotic props.
That's right.
Yeah.
Early report from Caesars.
Money.
More money and bets on the Eagles, which is no surprise considering the line movement. More bets on the under, but more money on the over. And in the MVP market, Kenneth Gainwell has gotten steamed from 250 to 1 to 100 to 1.
Yeah, Gainwell's been getting a lot more involved. He was one of my values over on rushing yards. It was only at like 10.5, and he got way over that. He got more yards than Miles Sanders for the second week in a row. So, yeah, I can see why there's steam coming in on old Kenny G. Oh, you're muted, Zach.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I suppose 250 to 1 was a good price, but I don't know about 100 to 1. By the way, you can bet on next year's Super Bowl already. Caesars has released odds on this. I don't know why you would before free agency or the draft or anything, but if the Saints at 50 to 1 is your thing, they're at 50 to 1, guys.
Oh,
They'll
man.
be 60 to 1 before the season starts. Don't bet on that now.
That number did seem kind of low.
Don't bet on any of this.
I mean, if you want to, oh Lord, here we go.
Yeah, there's no value
please,
here.
Hold on. She may never watch us again, but please put this comment on the screen.
Okay, all right, Terry, brace yourself.
Here we go. Conspiracy theory.
She must have missed the beginning of the show because we're already.
Joe Burrow.
Ohio.
This is the best conspiracy I've heard yet, and I'm completely facetious when I say this. Joe Burrow is from Louisiana, and he wears number 9. That is why they cheated the Bengals. This is the best comment. And Terry, I know you watch Attitude sometimes too, so I hope I don't piss you off to the point where you don't come back on Fridays. But this might be, let's see, how can I politically correctly put this? The most ironic statement that we've ever posted on Bayou Bets. And that's saying something. But the problem is, this is about 80% of New Orleans right here. And I like I said in Attitude, there aren't a lot of things that really tick me off. I mean, there's a lot of things that get me pumped up and fired up, and that's who I am. There aren't a lot of things that tick me off. And one of the things that ticks me off is an argument that has zero logic. That has zero logic, and so do a lot of New Orleanians this weekend, and I'm ashamed, to be honest. I'm ashamed to be a New Orleanian.
It's emotion. I get it. I mean, but look, for number one,
it's illogical.
We talked about this at the beginning of the show, Terry, so if you missed it, but look, the Chiefs were the team that had a penalty take away a touchdown. The Chiefs were a team that had a penalty take away an interception. The repeated third down was freaking weird, but the ref was clearly running onto the field to blow the play dead. Nobody heard him, but he was. I mean, before the play, like there was nothing there. And as Jim points out, the Chiefs didn't gain anything from that. They got a first down, but then they had to punt right away anyway. If you're going to rig a game, you do not leave it up to a kicker kicking a 45-yard field goal in cold winds. Like that's not how you would guarantee a team won. That's a coin flip. Like you can't. The game was not rigged. Let's get that. And by the way, there was one Heisman Trophy winner from Louisiana who scored a touchdown yesterday, and it wasn't Joe Burrow. It was Devonta Smith. Just to get that out there. I get it. Joe Burrow's an LSU legend, and he always will be, and he's going to be beloved in this state for a long time. But he is not from Louisiana. He spent 2 years here
of his life.
And they were 2 glorious years. But he is not from here.
They were super glorious. It got him a lot of money, and it got him a lot of notoriety, and it got him a lot of friends in Louisiana. But he's not from Louisiana. He's from Ohio. And, that, like you said, and it's like Uncle Big Nick's been saying, I don't normally throw out that Uncle Big Nick is logical, but completely logical here. I mean, since when did we just forget about all the other Louisiana players? Why is it Joe Burrow? I mean, why wouldn't people Jamar Chase went to Rummel. I mean, Jamar Chase is he's New Orleanian through and through. He's from, he went to Rummel High School. Nobody talks about Justin Jefferson all that much when he was playing against the Giants. They weren't like, let's root for Justin Jefferson this week. You talk about Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is from the North Shore. Nobody clamoring for Devontae Smith. I mean, I don't know.
And I mean, listen, Burrow won the Heisman. I get it. I do. But it's just gotten to the point where it's almost out of control.
Oh, wait. He went to Alabama.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly why. I mean, but it's – I don't know. I understand it, but it's just gotten a little bit out of control, especially now that we're talking – like Saints fans are talking like they were robbed because the Bengals –
Here's what it is. It's the casual fan that like turns the TV on for like 45 minutes on a Saturday and then goes off and has dinner with their friends. Like catches the score when they come home, and then the Saints are on. Are they winning or losing, honey? Oh, they're losing. Okay, well, never mind. I'm not going to watch. That's the kind of fan right there. I mean, and I'm not talking about just Terry is just the icon. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people like that. And it's not just New Orleans. Uncle Big Nick sent me something earlier. He goes, "Oh, Louisiana fans, the dumbest fans in the world." And I'm like, no.
Hold on, I'm gonna have to read that before we fill up half the screen.
Yeah, you really
fans posted flyers at Super Bowl. Goodell hates Saints and NOLA.
Goodell hates the Saints. There's another one. Goodell hates the Saints. The NFL went out of their way in 2005 when Tom Benson, the beloved Tom Benson, and I'm not going to talk bad about
she doesn't care what you think.
I don't care whether she cares what I think.
She doesn't care what you think.
I don't care.
She got you, Jim. She got you. She put you in your place.
Here's a good question for Terry, though. What if Burrow had gotten drafted by the Falcons? Would you root for the Falcons? Terry, I'm genuinely curious about that.
That's a great question.
The only LSU player in the Super Bowl correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire who's on injured reserve and may not even play. So that storyline's out the window. It's rare that you could find two NFL teams without an LSU player.
I find that hard to believe, but I'll take your word for it. Have you looked, or you just?
I did look. I just sort of skimmed the list of LSU players in the pros and didn't see anyone else. I can't think of anyone else.
Yeah, last year we had.
So that's a bridge too far.
We had Odell Beckham versus Leonard. No, not Leonard Fournette. Who was on the? It was the Rams, and against Burrow, and Burrow Chase against Odell Beckham last year.
Yeah, it's hard to find two teams. Like it's kind of like
we're going to do a local connection story at some point in the next few days. I'm sure I'll go diving through there and find all the local connections I can find. And you New Orleanians can jump on somebody else's bandwagon, and when they lose, you can say they got screwed too.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw this video before the conference championships, and it was like it had this thing with like these like balloons of the Bengals and the 49ers, and someone was like, "The fix is in." They both lost.
And what about high schools, Devin? Did you go that deep? I wonder if Devin went.
Well, Devonta Smith, Amy, right. That'd be kind of fringy area, but he's from Louisiana.
New Orleans era for sure. Yeah.
Jerry says Terry versus Jim. Let's get ready to rumble. Terry,
we really rumble. Right? She'll kick my keister, I'm sure.
Terry doesn't care. Tulane's Patrick Johnson on the Eagles. All right, there we go.
Yeah,
okay, that's good. There you go.
Speaking of not caring, Spencer's the only one who cares about big bucks anymore.
I care.
Jim, this is actually pretty amazing. Jim went 0-4 yesterday. A lot of stuff tied up with the 49ers.
Yeah.
After what have we done this for? 20 weeks now, and you're at 90 cents over where we started.
Better than 90 cents down, baby. It goes to show. You can have a week where you're just. I mean, I was 500 with my picks and all my picks, because I had San Francisco, had the San Francisco over, had Kansas City, and had the Kansas City under. So I was 2 for 2 in the grand scheme of things. But when you don't pick them the right way, it could be a bad day, not just here on this screen, but in my bankroll. Luckily, I had a Kansas City future, and I did double down at last minute. And literally last minute, right before the game started, I said, I don't normally do this because I don't react bet, but I did yesterday, and it ended up paying off. It doesn't usually. I doubled down on Kansas City yesterday before the game. I just felt like they were the better team. I'm certain they were the better team after watching the game. I mean, the Who Days can say whatever they want and call conspiracy, but had Cincinnati won yesterday, and they may have won in overtime. Had it gone overtime, they may have won. There is zero doubt in my mind that the Kansas City was the best team of those two teams yesterday.
I mean, the Bengals were 1 first down away, maybe 2 from getting into field goal range in that last. I mean, they were outside their own 40. So,
but they have no one themselves to blame either. But you talked about it, Zach. I mean, we joke about the 4th down thing. I'm not going to get into that thing, but Cincinnati did after that punt. They did have. Here you go, Joe Burrow, like Joe Montana used to do in the day. You want to call him Joe Montana? He had his chance to go down the field and be a hero, and he couldn't pull it off. So, of course, the whole thing didn't help. on the
No,
first play
and
of
they
that
had a
drive.
and this Chris Jones came up with the big sack, and that was really what killed it. But Spencer, I gotta say, I could have guessed you were going to go 2-2 because you were walking this tightrope with your picks where two of them went one way and the other two went the other way, and you were trying to thread the needle, and it
Yeah.
didn't quite work, but you ended up plus money.
Yeah, I was cool with that because that teaser hit the teaser total. I know Jim was getting on me about that on Thursday, but it
No, I
ended
just
up.
said beware. I didn't tell you not to do it. I
I
just
got
said it's
you.
probably not a good idea.
It saved me because the over wouldn't have hit in the Chiefs Bengals game had I not done the teaser. It didn't matter for the Eagles 49ers. That ended up the under regardless, but the teaser did save me in that getting the over. That teased it down to 41, so it ended up working out.
And Spencer's got a $120 lead. I'm way behind, but we're going to double the limits for Super Bowl week. We can go up a little bit, right, for the last week.
Yeah, we should more than double it. I mean, I think we should.
Final Jeopardy style.
I mean, I don't know about the whole thing, but if you want, sure. But I mean, every other show, I don't know. I didn't have anything to do. I was folding like 2 weeks worth of laundry yesterday during the pregame, and the NFL Network had this goofy like contest where one of them was Pictionary and another one was, I forget what the first one was. The last one was Connect Four. But anyway, so the one group wins the first two contests, and so they say that this last contest is worth 3 points. So, in other words, the first two contests.
Family Feud does that. Family Feud does that. It drives me crazy. The one family will like dominate. They'll win 3 contests in a row, and you're going, "Oh, this is a much better team." And then they'll say, "Okay, this is the mega contest or whatever the hell they call it." And if the other team wins, it's worth like triple points. And
everybody
how did that
gets
happen?
a trophy. Everybody gets a trophy.
They got, why do we like if you're getting beat, you're getting beat. I'm sorry. That's how it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know who wouldn't put up for that? Alex Trebek wouldn't put up with that. Alex Trebek would say, if you have negative money heading into Final Jeopardy, you're gone. You're out."
No, that'd be like the Bengals winning 35-0 at halftime, and they come out and say, "You know what? We're going to make this game 35-35 because Terry already knows we're cheating the Bengals, so we're just going to go ahead and change the score."
So every touchdown in the second half counts for 12 points. Go.
Only for the Chiefs. Bengals touchdowns don't count.
And you can go for a 4-point conversion.
Yeah, I don't understand. Alex Trebek, may he rest in peace, the best game show host of all time,
Without
not
a
a second place.
He
would not put up with that.
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker? Okay.
Yeah.
Bob Barker can be second place. I'll buy that. All right. It has been a very, very poor January for basketball, for men's basketball in Louisiana. The Pelicans have lost 8 in a row. LSU has lost 8 in a row. They have not won since 2022.
That's brutal.
Tulane's doing okay. But I don't know what we'll talk more about the Pelicans. I'm gonna try to get Christian Clark on the show Thursday to kind of reset this Pelican season because to be honest with you, they're right about where I expected them to be. I think they're sixth. They're tied for 6th in the West. They just got there in a very strange way by getting real hot and then having injuries and then getting real cold, and they're right about where you thought they were going to be. But now they got to right the ship.
Willie needs to hit the reset button.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this latest Zion injury is just ever since then they have just gone into free fall mode, and I thought Brandon Ingram coming back was going to help, and he had already missed another game. It's just, man, I don't know. They got to get him and Zion back rolling because if not, they're going to end up in the damn play-in tournament. But they shouldn't be out too much longer. Well, Ingram should be back tomorrow.
Ingram's back. He was just out because of a back-to-back. But the other part of this is the schedule has just
been brutal.
I mean, what was the game Zion went out in? Was it against Philadelphia that Zion went out in, right? They lost that game in Philadelphia. Yeah. Came back home to play Houston. Okay, that's an easy game. But then they had Brooklyn at home, at Dallas, at Washington, which they won, at Boston, at Detroit, which they also won. But then at Cleveland, Miami, at Orlando, at Miami, Denver, Minnesota, Washington, at Milwaukee, and then tomorrow at Denver and Thursday at Dallas. It's like, this is a terrible time to be missing your stars. They were going to have trouble going 500 in those games with Zion and Ingram. And so without them, they just...
Yep, Jerry, the NBA hates the Pelicans.
It's just bad luck. The good news
Yeah.
is when they do get those guys back, they're going to have an awful lot of San Antonio and Houston and Oklahoma City, who's not terrible, but some of these teams that they can handle. I was going to say Sacramento, but Sacramento's actually having a good season too. But maybe Portland, some of these teams they can actually handle a little bit. And so I think they could get in, at least hold on to the 5 or 6 spot if they can get healthy pretty quick. Will Zion play 62 games? He's already missed 15,
well, that's
right?
a little inside joke because we have a bet. And my question back to Uncle Big Nick would be, will Tiger Woods ever win another major? There's a lot more on that bet.
Devin says was in the building for Bucks Pelicans last night. They're playing hard. I mean, they had nobody last night. They didn't have Dyson Daniels. They didn't have Ingram. They didn't have Zion.
There's no McCollum.
Didn't have McCollum. I mean, that was not an NBA roster last night.
Yeah, Giannis just could do anything. He had scored 50. So if I was wanting to see Giannis put on a show, they got their wish.
This is what and we love you, Jerry. The NBA would love it. They would love having an NBA Finals in New Orleans. They would love it.
Don't be one of the you think that if anything, the Pelicans getting the number 1 pick out of that barrel is highly questionable with AD and Zion. So if anything, I think they've done us a little bit of a favor. I don't know. I'm just saying. So
no changing the limits. Just realize, but listen, you're biased, sir. I hate to say that.
Look at that last name.
Yeah, he's not wrong though. I mean, Spencer has beat us fair and square, but it feels like we need to put a little bit more on the line for the Super Bowl. Spencer's just going to have to pick good for one more week. But there is good basketball news, is what I was getting to, and that is the LSU women back up to number 3. They're playing Tennessee at home tonight, so if you're in Baton Rouge and got nothing else to do, this is actually a pretty good matchup. LSU's a 12-point favorite. I just don't see any way they're not undefeated when they go to South Carolina on Super Bowl Sunday, and that's going to be the women's basketball game of the year, pre-tournament, of course.
You were predicting them. You were giving up on them against Alabama. Remember, you were like
Arkansas.
Arkansas. That's what I meant. That's right.
No, I wasn't crying. I was laughing because it was like the first time all year we talked about them, and it looked like they were going to lose, but they pulled it out. And now they play Tennessee, so that's classic SEC matchup, LSU Tennessee. And 6 o'clock at the PMAC tonight. So go check it out.
No more chastising, Terry, but I am going to say this. If you think Drew Brees is better than Patrick Mahomes, you cray. Okay? I love Drew Brees. He saved the franchise. He won a Super Bowl here and may never happen ever again. But if you think Drew Brees is better than Patrick Mahomes, you a little out of your box. That's okay.
Patrick Mahomes has, he's raised the level.
No one else has.
Yeah, I mean, he has raised the definition of what it means to be a quarterback in the NFL. He's doing things that no one's ever done before. Kind of like a Montana did, kind of like a Staubach did, kind of like a Marino did.
All those guys together.
Yeah, and now it's like, well, what is possible? And so.
You know who's the closest thing, and I know people might laugh when I say this, but old people will get it a little bit. The closest thing I've ever seen to Patrick Mahomes, if Archie Manning would have ever been on a real team, I mean, Archie Manning did back then the kind of things that Mahomes does now, but no one noticed it because he played on a 5-9 team, or the best they ever were when he was here. They only played 14 games for a lot of the time that he played. Then they went 8-8. It was like the greatest thing ever. But Archie Manning would run around and just kind of flip the ball on the hand and flip it sideways and do all kinds of weird things. It was way ahead of his time. Of course, he wasn't nearly as accurate as Patrick Mahomes is. But that's also probably a reason why he can't walk right now either.
Yeah. You hate to put expectations on somebody, but Caleb Williams may be the next one. The USC quarterback. That guy is phenomenal, and he'll barring injury be the number 1 pick in next year's NFL draft. So we'll see. Let's see. Spencer Uncle Big Nick made it to the Super Bowl in playoff best ball. All right.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, I actually had a playoff league that went through the championships that I just won it. I had my first 2 picks were Kelsey and AJ Brown. They had the bye week, but I'm glad I went with him, especially with Kelsey. I mean, that dude he's such a beast.
Looking forward to the blowout at Jim's house.
Oh, yeah, about the 49ers. Jim was saying he's going to have a blowout if the Niners had won.
Yeah.
I didn't get
right.
to.
You need to win your Survivor.
Yeah. No, the Survivor's gone. But hey, looking back though on that, I wasn't even upset about it because I know that was the right choice to make. And there were more. It ended up being 5 people taking the 49ers. 9 people took Philadelphia, and 1 took Cincinnati. That person's out too, obviously. But looking back on it, I mean, you can't know that they're not going to have any quarterback. It was the right choice to make, and I would make it again. I had the chance to do it again this week, not with no quarterback. But
you can't predict that, though. I mean,
no, but I mean, it was the right choice to make. I knew that I was going to be on the side of least resistance, and when you're talking about a game that's basically even in a spread, they take the road less traveled. I'd do it again.
Terry says next year will be the Burrow's 3rd year, which means he's going to win it because Breeze won it in his 3rd year. Well, look, sign up for Caesar Sportsbook. You can get 9-1 odds on the Cincinnati Bengals to win next year's Super Bowl. So there you go.
Yeah, it's actually Drew's 4th year at NOLA that he won it.
Terry, I tell you what, I'm gonna be missing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to one up you there, Terry. I just wanted to get the facts straight.
No. I think in fairness, is to show that I'm not the complete jerk that I can somehow come off to be. Terry, reach out to me on Facebook. I'll put you on my show for 5 minutes. Either this Friday or next Friday. I'll put you on the show for 5 minutes, and we can just talk about it. And I'll be as nice as I possibly can be. I don't know how nice that is, but
Jim, I do not think that you could do a segment in 5 minutes. That sounds like an impossible challenge for you.
You got a point.
I think
the
we're
over
going to
under
triple that. Yeah.
No.
Take the over.
It's a very nice offer, regardless. Speaking of nice offers, go to lsuposter.com. You see that guy in the one on the right there? Is that Joe Burrow? You can get a Joe Burrow poster. Go to lsuposter.com. Sign up for Caesar Sportsbook. Place a minimum of a $10 bet on the Super Bowl or anything else you want, and we'll send you 3 of these lovely posters for free. You can get whichever ones you want, and that's about a $90 value, and it only costs you $10, and you might win the bet too, and so then it'll cost you nothing. LSUposter.com for new Caesars Sportsbook users only. We're going to start a new feature on Bayou Bets as we get out of football season, where we have a question of the day, and we're all going to, we're going to come up with some crazy stuff. What was the example we were thinking of, Jim?
Here's the example, the one that I heard somewhere else, and I said that would be a perfect segment for our show. This may not be the first question, but it's going to be along the lines of this. Okay, if you were a Baltimore Ravens fan, okay, and you had a free roll in the Super Bowl. I heard this on another show. If you had a free roll in the Super Bowl for the next 10 years, like someone came up and said, I'm going to put $1,000 bet on the Ravens no matter what their odds are to win the Super Bowl, and if it hits, you get the money. Would you want the Ravens to sign
any of the
Lamar
next
Jackson?
10 years? Yeah.
In any of the next 10 years. Would you want the Ravens to sign Lamar Jackson or not sign Lamar Jackson? That is the question. And then we're going to put a poll question up on Friday, and then the next Friday we'll have another question, but we will also show the poll results and talk about it amongst ourselves. I think
so that's pretty good.
It's going to be a fun. Well, I think we came up for a title for it, but I can't.
Yeah, we'll come up with that. Terry says she's game, so look for that Facebook message.
I'm easy to find on Facebook, Terry. Just search for my name. I'm under my name.
That'll be a lot of fun. You'll be on Datitude for 5 minutes, or you want to be on Bayou Bets, we can do that too. So it's not going to be fun. Jim's intro will be 5.
Derry, my last name.
Jim Derry, right there on the screen. Derry. All right. So having said that, we'll just do final thoughts for right now for this week. Spencer the Guru, what's your final thought on this Monday?
All righty, I'll just say it. I'm not trying to criticize Mahomes by any means. He's one of the greats, going to go down as one of the greats. But as far as we were talking about him being the GOAT potentially, I do want to see how he does when Andy Reid retires, which probably won't be for another 3 or 4 years. But it'll be interesting to see how the second half of his career goes. So he's on the trajectory to be the GOAT, but let's not crown him just yet.
All right. That's fair. Jim?
These next 2 weeks to me are kind of like, when you're sick and you're trying to like not to think about being sick and you just like plow through and do. These next 2 weeks to me, football's over. And I'm trying to plow through work so I can engage myself in football. And it's two of the most sad weeks of the year. Because you know that football's coming. It's like when you were a kid and you went to Disney World for a week. And that last day you wake up and you go to the park and you know it's your last day and you try not to think about it when you're riding all the rides. It's kind of like that. And it's sad that football is over. As hard as we all work, Zach, during football season, and we look forward to getting a break, at the same time, it's still sad when it's over. And we go back and we actually get to remember what our kids and our wife looks like and enjoy our lives and do, it's okay if I'm going to be gone half of a Wednesday because I got to go to my kids' play or whatever. It's sad. And so I'm already missing it, but I'm going to plow myself into football research the next 2 weeks. We're going to come up with some great nuggets, and we've been meeting, and we have some new ideas for the show that are going to engage our friends out there that watch us every week, such as the Jerrys and the Terrys and that kind of thing.
And yeah, my final thought actually was going to be that it's the time of year that we sort of turn our attention to golf. And I know the Super Bowl is yet to come, but we got Pebble Beach this week, and then we got the Waste Management Open in Phoenix the next week,
which I love.
Insanity.
My favorite.
And I gotta say, even with the defections to the Live Tour, this is shaping up to be a pretty damn good season on the PGA. Like John Rahm's on a heater. Yeah, Rory is across the world right now, but Rory will come back across the pond and he'll
pissed at with him. Bet on Max Home.
Scheffler was what? I picked home and one and done and was going to bet on him and somehow didn't. I don't know how I did that, but anyway, yeah. So golf is heating up, and listen, there's lots to pay attention to. March Madness is only, I think, 6 weeks away. 6 weeks from yesterday's Selection Sunday, so that's coming up.
Daytona
so lots
500 coming up.
Daytona 500, NASCAR, all of that good stuff as well. So stick with us every Monday and Thursday at 4 o'clock here on Bayou Bets. We'll be back Thursday. Talk some more basketball on Thursday. Try to figure out what's wrong with the Pelicans and what they need to do besides just get healthy. And maybe that's the only thing to get this season back on track. So for Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru, and our thanks to our partner Caesar Sportsbook, I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for watching Bayou Bets.